Episode 100, Little Treasure's Mother, My Wife. Seeing this audacious woman continuously ignoring his warnings and daring to touch Little Bao with dirty hands, Lu Chongshan was infuriated to the extreme. He was about to reprimand her when, for some unknown reason, he suddenly fell silent. Little Bun, although already in a daze from the fever, instinctively seemed to know who was holding him in their arms. He immediately grabbed onto the edge of Ningxi's clothes with his warm little hands and rubbed his scorching hot little face against her. Ningxi had been forcing herself to remain calm. However, the spontaneous affectionate gestures from Little Bun broke through her facade. She managed to restrain herself only because there were too many people around. Her eyes, however, were slightly reddened. At this moment, Ningxi was completely indifferent to the gazes of everyone around her, whether it was the doctors or the glaring old man and old lady. Her eyes and heart were filled only with the weak and uncomfortable Little Bun in her arms. Ningxi hugged Little Bun even tighter, bent down to kiss his forehead, and then kissed his little face. Her tone was tender and gentle. "Baby, Auntie is here. Don't be afraid." Her voice seemed to have a special ability to calm people's hearts. Not only Little Bun but everyone else present felt the restlessness and chaos in their hearts dispelled. Lu Chongshan still stood there, dumbfounded. For a moment, he forgot his anger. Little Bun, still curled up in Ningxi's arms, though his small body was still trembling, his expression was no longer as painful and tormented as before. Instead, he appeared calm and satisfied. Ningxi adjusted her posture, stood up, and let Little Bun's small head rest on her shoulder. Lu Tingxiao helped Ningxi adjust Little Bun to a comfortable position, then picked up the small blanket on the bed and covered him. Then, Ningxi began to move around the room, singing softly, "Sleep, sleep, my dear baby. Mommy's hands gently sway you. Sleep, sleep, my dear baby. Mommy's arms will forever protect you. Sleep, sleep, my dear baby. Mommy loves you, Mommy likes you." This woman. How dare she claim to be Little Bun's mother, so shamelessly? Lu Chongshan should have been furious, but for some reason, as he watched the girl walking around, singing and soothing Little Bun, he inexplicably felt a reluctance to disrupt or disturb them. Little Bun, with his small head nestled on Ningxi's shoulder, showed a sense of peace and affection. The anger in Lu Chongshan's heart unexpectedly did not erupt. Instead, he felt a strange desire not to spoil the moment. As for the other doctors and servants present, especially the women, seeing the small Little Bun's head resting on the girl's shoulder, looking peaceful and affectionate, they couldn't help but feel a bit teary-eyed. Ah, the young master is really pitiful. He has never had a mother's love since childhood. In such times, a mother's hug, a kiss, a gentle lullaby, aren't they all as effective as any miraculous medicine? They even thought, what if this girl is really the young master's mother? The one with the most peculiar expression in the scene was probably Yan Rui. Watching her grandson gradually calming down and even becoming serene, without the spasms and tremors, she couldn't help but recall the words of Grandmaster Xianjing that day. Unrivaled fortune. Unrivaled fortune. Ningxi isn't a doctor, so naturally, she can't know how to treat an illness. She relies on instinct to comfort Little Bun. Besides that, there's an inexplicable telepathy that even she finds hard to understand. Whenever Little Bun moves a bit, hums, furrows his brow, or breathes irregularly, she instinctively knows where he's uncomfortable. It could be a change in position, a suggestion to cover him with a blanket, or a whispered reassurance in his ear that she's always there, all of which she does effortlessly. Before Ningxi's arrival, Little Bun was restless lying in bed, unable to settle down no matter how many people took care of him. Now, being cradled by Ningxi, his little head resting on her shoulder, he looks calm and comfortable, gradually falling into a sweet sleep. The doctors and attendants around are relieved, but they maintain absolute silence, afraid of waking the little guy again. If anything happens to the little prince tonight, everyone in the room is in big trouble. Little Bun's most serious issue isn't the fever, it's his emotional state, keeping his body in a highly tense state even when he desperately needs rest. Unable to sleep, his illness couldn't possibly improve. Ningxi's arrival undeniably addresses the most critical issue at the moment. After soothing Little Bun for quite some time, Lu Tingxiao notices Ningxi's slight discomfort as she moves her arms. After all this time, her arms must be sore. Lu Tingxiao prepares Little Bun's small bed and signals Ningxi to put him to sleep. Glancing at the peacefully sleeping Little Bun in her arms, Ningxi carefully walks to the bed, bends down, and gently places him on the bed. Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui finally relax when they see this, but as soon as Ningxi puts Little Bun on the bed, his peaceful face immediately twists, and his body starts trembling. Seeing that little Bun is about to get sick again, the two elders are startled, and before they can catch their breath, their hearts are in their throats again. Ningxi, being the first to notice, immediately picks up little Bun and starts another round of patting and singing. Though her expression shows a hint of helplessness, there's no impatience. Although worried about their son, Lu Tingxiao is also concerned about his wife. He walks over and sits by the bed, supporting Ningxi. "What's wrong?" Ningxi, holding little Bun, gives him a skeptical look. The next moment, she stares in astonishment. Lu Tingxiao kneels down and starts helping her take off her shoes. However, what surprises Ningxi even more is the quiet figures of the other people and the biological parents of the little demon king standing in the corner of the room. Only Qin Mufeng touches his nose, wearing an expression that says he's used to being dazzled but has long gotten used to it. After Lu Tingxiao helps Ningxi take off her shoes, he gently places her legs on the bed. Then, he cushions two soft pillows behind her, helping her find a comfortable position. He covers her with a blanket, his expression serious, and his tone brooking no objection. "You should rest for a while too. You just got off the plane and rushed over, you haven't rested at all." "Oh." Ningxi places little Bun on her lap, cuddles him, leans against the soft pillows behind her, and indeed, it's much more comfortable. However, the intense gazes from the surroundings are a bit overwhelming. Lu Tingxiao coldly waves his hand, and everyone immediately snaps out of their shock, nervously retreating. They can't help but speculate silently about the identity of the woman brought back by the young master. Who is she to make the usually uninterested in women and cold-hearted young master so gentle? Could it be? Could it be that this woman is the biological mother of our young master? A maid suddenly has an enlightened expression. It's unlikely, right? Didn't they say the young master's birth mother died early? Otherwise, which woman could be so heartless to abandon her own flesh and blood? And it's our exceptional young master. Maybe there's some untold story? Aren't you all tired of living? How dare you discuss such matters? If the master and madam find out, prepare to be kicked out. A senior servant scolds them sternly, and everyone falls silent. In the Lu family, the topic of the young master's mother has always been a forbidden and unspoken taboo. Inside the room, Ningxi, tired from the journey and the scare with little Bun tonight, is indeed a bit exhausted. However, with Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui present, and she lying on the bed while they stand, it's already uncomfortable enough, let alone sleeping in front of them. "Dad, Mom, you should go rest too. I'll stay here and watch over him," Lu Tingxiao says to his parents. Lu Chongshan looks at his sleeping grandson, appearing nonchalant. He's about to speak when Yan Rui pulls him aside. "Let's go out first. If there's anything wrong with little treasure, he'll let us know immediately." "Okay." In the living room, the displeased Lu Chongshan asks, "Why did you pull me?" Yan Rui looks hesitant. "Chongshan, don't you think that girl is quite special?" "What's special about her? She's just good at comforting people. Otherwise, how could both little treasure and Tingxiao be captivated by her?" Lu Chongshan is most frustrated at the moment, watching his son and grandson completely controlled by this woman, and he has no way to change it. What if little treasure was in such discomfort before, and she just casually coaxed him, and it worked? Yan Rui expresses her disagreement. Lu Chongshan knows he has some bias, but he absolutely won't admit it. Annoyed, he says, "What's so special about that? Can just soothing words really work for little treasure and Tingxiao?" Yan Rui tries a tentative approach. "Perhaps, this girl has a good destiny, good fortune. She can protect our little treasure." Upon hearing this, Lu Chongshan's face darkens. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "I'm not talking nonsense. Master Xian Jing said this himself." Yan Rui, in her excitement, blurts out. "What did you say? How could Master Xian Jing say such things?" Lu Chongshan immediately questions seriously. Yan Rui's eyes flicker, reluctantly admitting, "To tell you the truth, when I went to ask Master Xian Jing to read our fortunes, I took this girl's birth chart with me." You. Lu Chongshan couldn't contain his anger. "Why did you take that woman's birth chart to Master Xian Jing? Are you planning to let her into our family?" Yan Rui shrugged casually and said, "How could that be possible? I was just worried about whether this woman might harm Tingxiao and little treasure. So, I wanted Master Xian Jing to check if there were any issues." Lu Chongshan is still somewhat reasonable. After venting his anger for a while, he glances at her and asks, "So, what was the result?" Yan Rui looks a bit excited as she recalls and says, "The result? After searching for so long, none of the girls we considered had an outstanding birth chart. Only Ningxi stood out. Master Xianjing said her destiny is unparalleled, bringing prosperity to her husband and family, and she'll have many fortunate children. Even though Lu Chongshan had mentally prepared himself, he's still surprised to hear this. How is that possible? Did Master Xianjing really say that? I'm not making it up. Those were Master Xianjing's exact words. He also mentioned that this girl's birth chart matches Ting Xiao's very well. I didn't believe it at first and was afraid you would blame me, so I didn't tell you until today, after what happened to Little Treasure. We tried everything, but nothing worked. However, when this girl came, Little Treasure's condition improved immediately. Even if Little Treasure likes her, it shouldn't have such a significant impact. Yan Rui analyzes bit by bit. Lu Chongshan's face becomes solemn as he paces back and forth in the living room. After a while, he finally makes a decision and says in a deep voice, a birth chart is just a formality, it can't be taken too seriously. This matter is not to be mentioned again. Besides, whether Little Treasure is really better or not is still uncertain. What if something happens again later? Spit. Are you cursing our own grandson? Yan Rui immediately scolds her husband, looking displeased. I'm just worried about Little Treasure. Lu Chongshan realizes he misspoke and looks embarrassed. As Lu Chongshan contemplates, he also thinks about Yan Rui's words earlier. After several struggles, he stares seriously at his wife and says with a stern tone, a birth chart is elusive, but a person's character can truly manifest in various ways. Don't forget how Little Treasure became like this 2 years ago, it was because we believed in such people. In truth, Yan Rui also knows that even if Lu Chongshan knows what Master Xianjing said, his attitude might not change much. After hearing these words, her face pales slightly, nodding, I just said it casually. I will be careful and cautious. In Little Treasure's room. After Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui leave, drowsiness immediately overwhelms Ningxi. However, due to worry about Little Bun, she refrains from sleeping. Lu Tingxiao sits on the edge of the bed, tidying the bedding for her. Sleep, I'm here. If anything happens, I'll call you. After saying this, he gently kisses her forehead. Ningxi's eyes widen in surprise, and the drowsiness is almost completely gone. Are you sure you genuinely want me to sleep? Seeing the girl's widened eyes, a hint of darkness flashes in Lu Tingxiao's deep gaze. Sorry. Although he apologizes, his actions are completely contrary. Leaning over, he plants another kiss on her lips. After a long while, he finally withdraws. And Ningxi is now fully awake. Are you taking advantage of me because I'm holding Little Bun and can't move? Ningxi, one day, you will become Little Bun's mother. My wife. In her dreams, Ningxi's mind still echoes Lu Tingxiao's words. Someday, you will become Little Treasure's mother. Becoming Little Treasure's mom, how nice would that be? I really like Little Treasure. Still worried about Little Treasure, she doesn't sleep soundly. Ningxi wakes up not long after. The first thing she does is to check on the Little Bun in her arms. Fortunately, the little guy is still nestled in her arms, sleeping sweetly. His soft fingers instinctively clutch her clothes, and there's a fine layer of sweat on his neck and back. Good, sweating is good, it helps with cooling. Thinking this, Ningxi immediately touches Little Bun's forehead. It seems like his temperature has dropped a lot. Lu Tingxiao, who was originally standing by the spacious French window, watching the gradually brightening sky, hears the movement on the bed. He immediately walks over. Awake. While Ningxi is touching Little Bun's forehead, she urges softly, Lu Tingxiao, check if our baby's fever has gone down a bit. I feel like Little Bun's body doesn't seem as hot as before. Lu Tingxiao nods and uses his large hand to feel his son's forehead. His expression softens slightly. The fever has reduced. Don't worry, I'll call the doctor in to have a look. Okay. Ningxi nods repeatedly. After a short absence, Lu Tingxiao returns with Qin Mufeng and 2 other doctors. Qin Mufeng hands over a thermometer attentively. Lu Tingxiao takes the thermometer and carefully places it under Little Bun's armpit. After a while, the measurement results are out, and the thermometer shows 37.8 degrees. Although there's still a slight fever, it's much better than the terrifying 40 degrees just now. Moreover, the temperature dropped without any medication. This is truly remarkable. Next, the other 2 doctors conduct a detailed examination on Little Bun. After last night's examination, the doctors' faces have improved a lot. Currently, young master's condition has stabilized, but we still need to observe for a while. At least until tomorrow, after 24 hours have passed. At this time, Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui, upon receiving the news, hurriedly walked in. They quickly gathered around to look at the thermometer. Seeing the temperature drop, they finally breathed a sigh of relief, but they still didn't dare to let their guard down. Yes, we still need to continue observing. Be careful. We don't know if he'll start running a fever again. It was fluctuating earlier. Yen Rui expresses her concerns. Lu Chongshan also nods in agreement. After a tense night, their nerves have relaxed slightly, but they still can't afford to be careless. They can't imagine what would happen if anything went wrong with Little Bun. At this moment, in the bed holding Little Bun, Ning Shi, for some reason, suddenly frowns and exclaims, "Ah!" For a moment, everyone's gaze turns nervously to her. Yen Rui asks, "What happened? What's wrong with Little Bun?" Lu Chongshan inquires, "What's going on?" Even the doctor's hearts skip a beat. This little master better not have any issues again. Under everyone's anxious gaze, Ningxi hesitates to speak, looking embarrassed, causing everyone to become more worried and start bombarding her with questions. In the end, only Lu Tingxiao silently walks over. He first rolls up his sleeves a bit, then lifts Ningxi's blanket. With unnatural movements, he begins massaging her legs and calmly asks, "Are your legs numb?"